新しいゲームの世界へ任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険の形。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。新しいゲームの世界へ任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. Luigi's Mansion. Only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. This game will scare you silly. Luigi's Mansion, only on Nintendo GameCube.
Vous avez une nuit pour sauver Mario d'un manoir hanté. Luigi's Mansion. N'ayez pas peur.
Exclusif sur Nintendo GameCube.
Vous avez une nuit pour sauver Mario d'un manoir hanté. N'ayez pas peur. Luigi's Mansion.
Exclusif sur Nintendo GameCube.
Tienes una noche para salvar a Mario de lo supernatural. Luigi's Mansion.
Solo para Nintendo GameCube. Clasificado E para todos.
Nuevo 新しいゲームの世界へ任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険の形。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。新しいゲームの世界へ任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. Luigi's Mansion. Only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. This game will scare you silly. Luigi's Mansion, only on Nintendo GameCube.
And hello. Hopefully, maybe. Hopefully, no audio issues. Welcome to the show. This is Unfinished Adventures, where we basically go and play old games and come back and discuss them. I'm your host, Trev Says Hi, and I am joined by...
D-Town and Jeff Aruni.
Yeah! And I'm like 99% sure our audio is working, but I'm going to double check it real quick.
Sweet.
because I would like to put this on YouTube and not have to try and dub our voices over again.
Yeah.
All right, we might hear a little bit of double. I can cut this out.
Cut this.
It's quiet, too quiet. You're right. Oh, is it not going to let me hear the audio? Oh, wait, here we go.
You just dub our voices over like a Godzilla B-roll.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't hear
That'd be
anything.
epic.
I don't know
Oh,
if it
no.
actually is working.
Proud to be an American.
I actually can't tell. It says audio should be working, but I don't know if it's also just like my phone.
Mhm.
I'm going to check on the browser. That means that there's probably going to be like a double, but we can edit this part out. I don't mind editing this part out.
Yeah, it's just slice and dice.
Yep. It's an easy. All right, hang on.
Easy like Parcheesi.
All right, hang on.
Easy like Parcheesi.
Okay, all right. I think it's working. Okay, cool.
I heard that one.
All right. Well, anyway, now that we know audio works, yeah. So we are playing Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion was a launch title for the GameCube. I actually don't remember what other launch titles there were for the GameCube. Do you guys know what? Did you guys have a GameCube growing up? First of all,
I had a GameCube, yeah, but I got it after it had been out for at least a little bit. So, like I got Smash Brothers Melee as one of my first games on the GameCube.
Was Mario Sunshine a launch title?
Nope.
Or was that later on?
It was not a launch title. And actually, a lot of people were kind of disappointed that the game didn't launch with a Mario game. I mean, even though they had Luigi's Mansion, I think everyone wanted Mario. So that was kind of like a point of contention.
Pretty
like,
bold.
Yeah. Like, here you go. Here's what you get. But, I mean, the game was good.
Here's a Luigi time game.
Yeah.
Right.
But to find the other... So it launched with 2 other games, and those 2 other games were Super Monkey Ball and Wave Race.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like I knew that Super Monkey Ball was a launch title, or at least I had heard that. That sounds, like a random factoid.
Oh, actually, those are what came out in Japan. America actually had more. It had All-Star Baseball, Batman, Crazy Taxi, Dave Mira Freestyle BMX 2, Disney's Tarzan, Madden NFL, NHL Hit, Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Is this correct? This seems too good. And then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Is this right? Is this just something ChatGPT made up?
Oh, did you ask ChatGPT?
No, I didn't ask ChatGPT. I did Google it.
I mean, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, that was... I'm sure that was a huge seller on the 64, so it makes sense that they would carry that over.
Yeah, so it did have... so the North America launch title had the I think the same one that Japan had, plus all those ones I just listed out. So really, that's honestly a pretty good lineup for a launch title. I don't think I actually got this at launch, if I'm remembering.
I didn't either.
I got my GameCube for Christmas some many years ago. Probably Christmas the same year, because it's probably what I wanted. And it's funny. I will literally never forget this, because I got my GameCube and Luigi's Mansion on... Because my family, they would always make you do Christmas, they would make the kids wait until Christmas Day night. So I never had a Christmas morning present. It was always wait until all the family came over and had dinner, and then we could open presents. So it was a long day. But I got my GameCube, got my copy of Luigi's Mansion, and I stayed up all night. I probably stayed up until 5 a.m. and I beat the game in one sitting. I don't know if I moved. And then, I woke up the next day and I told my dad, I was like, oh, I beat the game. And he was so mad because he just spent $60 on the game. He's like, you already beat it? And I'm like, yes, I did. Which I'll just never forget that. So I have that little special memory always tied with Luigi's Mansion of staying up all night and beating it in one sitting.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I never owned it as a child, but I remember seeing the cover of it and being like, man, this thing looks so awesome, but also so terrifying. I mean, I was probably I don't know, 10 or 11 or something like that, and there was games like Resident Evil out there eventually by the time I had a GameCube, and But still, even Luigi's Mansion, I was like, man, it's kind of pushing the button on some of these like Mario style games.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was always neat. Always wanted to play it, but just never had the chance for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we didn't have this game. I know we eventually got it. Like, I think my sister bought it, like from GameStop whenever the Wii was out. I think that's when we got it, and so she got it for whatever $20 or something like that. And now, like, you go and look at this game, like this game is expensive if you want to buy it again.
Almost
like,
all
if you want to
GameCube
buy
games are right now.
Yeah, it's that nostalgia. But yeah, for some reason, so we were talking about or you were talking about your memory of the GameCube. I can remember whenever we got our GameCube, it was actually because we had initially bought a PlayStation 2. So we had a PlayStation 2, and I don't know when, like, what launch or like there was how long after launch this was, but we got a PlayStation 2, and my dad took us to go and get games for the PlayStation 2, and we had a PlayStation 1 as well. So whenever we were there, my sister and I didn't find any games for the PlayStation 2 that we wanted to buy. So we bought PlayStation 1 games instead. And so my dad took the PlayStation 2, boxed it up, returned it, and came back with a GameCube.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
So it was like, and I mean, to this day, that's like mind blowing that, like, it was basically just something along the lines of, you didn't buy any PlayStation 2 games. Why did we even buy this? I'm going to go buy a GameCube instead.
That's did you get a PlayStation 2 again? Or did you just
No.
Yeah.
No, I've never had I've never had a PlayStation 2.
Okay. I was saying, because that was definitely a good console to have. And I mean, as much as I liked the GameCube, I think only having the GameCube may have been the wrong choice for that generation as a Nintendo fanboy who has played a lot of Nintendo games.
We did get an Xbox. We got an original Xbox.
I actually never had the Xbox. That is the only system I never owned. I've almost always owned every single home console system. That wasn't like a weird one like a Sega Genesis.
We had one of those.
Sega. No, I never had any Sega consoles or a Dreamcast. But yeah, I never had an original Xbox, which I feel like was okay. Like, yeah, I missed out on Halo and Halo 2, but I picked it up on Halo 3. It was fine. Yeah. I'm not traumatized by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Luigi's Mansion actually sold pretty well. I think in terms of the GameCube, I think it sold 3.33 million copies, which I think makes it like the 6th most sold game. It's either the 6th or the 7th. It's not top 5. But it's close if I remember correctly. So it sold pretty well. Everyone seemed to like it. The main thing that people complained about was that it was short, that you could beat it, that you could stay up on Christmas night and beat it in one sitting. That was the only complaint of the whole game.
Who complained about that? Just your dad? Was that the only person you could find?
Yeah. Like on the Steam reviews, like,
yeah.
Negative.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. There's been one game that I've done that as well, like where my dad bought me a game and I beat it. Like I didn't even stay up all night. I beat it from the time that I got home to bedtime. So like 4 hours I beat it. And yeah, he's like it was an Xbox 360 game, so he's like, that was a $60 game and you just beat it. It's like, I don't know.
Yes.
It's like, it was
you
an
should
easy
be
game.
proud of me, Dad.
Yeah, I just speed ran this game.
Yeah. Well, do you remember what the game was?
Force Unleashed 2.
Okay.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. No. Man, good times. Nothing like feeling like a $60 game isn't worth the value.
Well, I mean, I didn't pay for that one, so.
No, I mean, I didn't either, but that's definitely coming from our fathers. They were the ones who were just like, wait a second. So anyway,
today's sponsor is Fathers Are Us. We love you, Dad, wherever you are.
We love you, and we can feel the disappointment from here.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask,
$60 for your birthday.
60. The Luigi's Mansion was 3.33. What were do you have the others?
I can pull them up.
Because I feel like 3.33 isn't that much. Like,
it wasn't back then. So like the GameCube. Well, let me rephrase that. I feel like it was more back then. The GameCube itself really didn't sell a lot of consoles. It was not a popular console. It probably lost the console generation war. So I don't know what its actual throughput was. So the number one sold game was Super Smash Bros. Melee at 7.41 million. Then you had Mario Kart at 7 million. You had Super Mario Sunshine at about 6.3-ish million. Then Zelda, 4.43. Oh, and then the fifth one was Luigi's Mansion at 3.33 million.
Okay.
So it was number 5, with followed up by Metroid Prime and Animal Crossing. Like, pretty much if you look at it, it's all Nintendo games all the way down that sold on.
That sold well.
Yeah. In fact, the first non-Nintendo game on here is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle at 1.73 million in 14th place, which was a good game. it was Sonic a bad good game, but it was a good game. So, yeah, the GameCube wasn't super popular, which you know, I think it just mainly came down to it was probably hard to develop for, because when there's not a lot of third-party games on it, people aren't going to buy it versus like a PlayStation 2, which had a ton of third-party games. And that's even why, like, when the PS3 kind of like flopped a little bit, it's because it was hard to develop for and it was a pain in the butt. So I think the GameCube may have just followed a similar pattern. I don't exactly remember why, but I'm going to assume that that's probably why it didn't sell as well and why there weren't as many games. But, you know, 5th overall in the GameCube Live is pretty good, and it's surprising for it being like 5th overall, because it took all the way until the 3DS to get a sequel for Luigi's Mansion, which is a long time for a game that was 5th best selling on your console. You would think when the Wii came out, they would be like, yes, this is a great place to make more money, especially with a console that actually sold.
That was sold a lot.
Yeah. Interesting choices.
But did they re-release Luigi's Mansion on the Wii, like with motion controls? Was this one of the games that they did that on?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Luigi's Mansion was only remade on the 3DS.
Okay.
You could play it on the Wii, but you know it's not like
right.
Yeah, they're the only thing that shows up for Luigi's Mansion Wii is a bunch of interesting fan art covers of games that don't exist, like Luigi's Mansion Lost in the Dark, or Luigi's Mansion Return of the Mansion.
Return of the Mansion.
Sign me up for that one. The mansion's back, baby.
Return of the Mansion.
All right, so going sort of into the main plot of Luigi's Mansion, like why Luigi is here in the first place. So Luigi gets a flyer, I believe, saying that he has won a free mansion. So like any of us would do if we got one of those in the mail, we would walk right down and find out what's going on. I mean, yeah, a free mansion, I'm going.
Hightail it over and get yourself a mansion.
Yeah, I mean, it's free. I want it. Because I think it was a part of a raffle that he didn't enter but somehow won. So he walks to the mansion, which he eventually goes and makes it in. And from like the initial room, it's all pretty spooky. I wish I had a screenshot of the room. I don't have one available, but so it's all pretty spooky. And you know, he basically walks into, I think. You go to the first door because there's a door right in front of you, and then it does the classic like Resident Evil horror hand goes to the door and turns, which was so fantastic. I only got tired of it at the very end of the game. I'm tired of seeing Luigi's hand do this.
Yeah.
But overall, I watched it more than I didn't watch it.
I watched it. I watched it a lot of times, and I was pressing. Was it the A button so that I could hear him, call for Mario?
Oh yeah, I love that there's a button that practically just.
It's even like that on. I don't know how Luigi's Mansion 2 is, but on Luigi's Mansion 3, it's even like that. Like that's something that they've carried over. This like iconic. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not iconic, but it's just like this kind of silly thing that he, is asking for help, basically.
Like the most Luigi thing that they could throw in a game. Where he's just like, I need help me, brother.
Yeah.
It's so good because it really just cements Luigi's personality. But like the thing that's so great about it is that Luigi still does everything at the end of the day. Like he still saves everybody. He just does it in his own way.
Yeah, he don't need no brother.
He doesn't.
Yeah, that is true. I guess up until this point, I was thinking like maybe he was just calling out for help, but maybe he was more just like, I'm going to face my fears and still call your name out to be like, where are you so I can find you, rather than like, I need your help.
Yeah, I think he was more looking for him.
Yeah.
Which instead of like looking for help. So there should be a picture of the foyer on screen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gotta now find the
Look
right.
at that little
freaking
man.
window. I should be fine.
I like it.
Yeah, so that's the first area you walk into, and then you go to the first door, you can't get in, and then you go upstairs, and then when you go upstairs, you are greeted by, I believe, just like a regular green ghost. I don't exactly remember which ghost you run into. I don't think it was a ghost with a face. I think it was just a basic ghost. But you also, at that point, you meet Mr. E. Gad, who, this is his first introduction to the Mario series. He's down there in the bottom right corner. He's got his cool little glasses on, and he's holding up that Luigi is actually from like the beta of the game. I think.
Oh, is it? I mean, it looks weird. But...
Yeah, it came from an E3 demo. So whenever this game was originally like demoed at E3, I think there was like a time limit in the mansion to where you had to do a certain amount of things before the time ran out. And if you lost, you got to see like really depressed looking Luigi. There's actually another image of depressed Luigi, but I couldn't find one that looked like it was just from. I only saw ones that were like redrawn. Oh, here we go. I'll throw this one in too. But so you got the one in the bottom right. I think if you died, that was your response, and then if you just lost. You got this Luigi right here. And this Luigi was definitely the form of a couple of creepypastas. So as we can tell,
like as I say, I've seen that one. Or not I've seen cutouts of that one, or like art and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely a good one to have and to show. So yeah, so you would get that, depressed Luigi. But so this introduces us to Dr. Egad here. I'm gonna try and hide this one on the screen. Sorry, I'm trying to manage all this stuff, and it is going a little weird. There we go. So this introduces us to Dr. Egad. And he basically says, "What are you doing here?" It's like, this isn't your mansion. This mansion just appeared overnight, which is kind of cool. I like that was sort of like the reason for the mansion existing, and that it was just sort of appeared. But then after that, you get whisked away into the lab, where Egad begins to basically say, "Hey, I have this Poltergeist 300, the vacuum thing." 5,000, actually, not 300, 5,000. It's basically a vacuum backpack, and you got work to do, if you want to find your brother, at least.
So, do you think I mean, this has to be like a Ghostbusters reference, right? Like the whole vacuum thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Basically, Ghostbusters just with no, like, instead of it being a trap, he's just vacuuming them up.
Yeah.
Right.
And also the actual cover art is reference of Home Alone.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I didn't really put that together, but yeah, that's 100% Home Alone.
Yeah. And it's funny, I didn't either. And then I'm assuming that I read that on the internet, and everything you read on the internet is 100% true, so I'm assuming it's true. I mean, it can't not be if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
But
that's why everyone should be buying Shiba Inu coins right now, because that's what they tell me to do.
Yep, because the internet is always right. So after that, you go back into the mansion, and then you see Toad for the first time, and so that's like your first other like real life character in the room. And so then from there, you go up a little bit and you encounter your first ghost with like a face, like one that you can actually fight. And I believe the first ghost is this one, Neville. Do you guys remember Neville? What did you guys think about first running into this ghost? He was the first ghost, so it's could be a while back for some of you.
Yeah.
That's the little orange guy, right?
Oh, sorry. I meant to... There you go. That one's Neville.
Okay, yes. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was a pretty easy ghost. He was your first ghost.
Yeah, and it was cool to just kind of get like an introduction as to like what this game's going to be about. Because like I said, I mean, I'd heard about people playing it, but I never really got into it. And so it literally felt like a brand new game to me, and
Mhm.
it was so neat to be able to see. It kind of gave me like Haunted Mansion
Mm-hmm.
vibes. So you would like go around and figure like it was kind of just who are the people living in here, and you know what like what is my purpose here? And you at the beginning you're like, well, I'm just here to survive, right? Like I'm here to find my brother and survive. But as you get more and more into the game, I think my morale started to switch a little bit, and I was like, well, I mean, like, who are these people? Why am I
Like,
sucking them
yeah,
all up and
yeah,
putting them in
that is
portraits?
that is like one of the only things that they don't really explain. At least I don't remember them explaining it. Is like why you're having to suck. Like are these people that have died in this house?
So I think those are ghosts that Egad has previously captured, and he put them in portraits, and they
Okay,
have
and then they
escaped
got
from
out.
their portraits. I don't. I mean, the mansion just appeared overnight, so they clearly weren't a part of this mansion. So I think that they were just ghosts that were captured by Egad in general, as you do in your free time. And then they were just like, "Oh, hey, here's a house. Let's go here." If I'm pretty sure that's how.
Or maybe they
That's how that
conjured
went.
up the house, like with all their
Maybe.
ghost powers.
Yeah, when they got free, maybe that's what them and all the booze did whenever they
Yeah.
got together. But yeah, so this kind of introduces the real first mechanics of the game. Obviously, I think we were given a
and,
tutorial before this.
And this is one of the, like, I guess, introductions to how to capture some of the bosses. Like, the
Yeah.
bosses won't just be, scanning or, like, hitting them with a flashlight. It'll be like, I think this one, it's him yawning is what you have to do to get him to like, to whatever, like, flash him so that you
Yeah.
can start vacuuming him up. But it kind of gives you just an idea that any boss type ghosts are going to require like a puzzle, almost a puzzle
Yeah.
solving.
They had a little gimmick to him. And yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
Neville's he had to yawn. I think he like threw a book and then he yawned or something like that. And then that's when
Yeah.
you can grab him.
Yeah.
What did y'all think of
But-
the actual gameplay?
So I thought the gameplay was pretty good. The only thing, and I in our chat I talked about it. I didn't like the way that the vacuum was controlled and the flashlight, so it was inverted. So that was kind of annoying. But nothing else in the game is inverted. Like you end up pulling up your. I guess we'll talk about it at some point. But you pull up almost like a viewfinder. That's not inverted. It's just the vacuum and it's just the flashlight that's inverted. And I'm not playing games like that. And there wasn't a way to change it. So
Yeah.
I mean, some people will live and die by if I'm flying a plane or helicopter, like it needs to be inverted on the controls for a game. But at least give me the option to change it. So that was the only gripe I had with the gameplay, like in terms of controls.
Yeah.
The only other weird thing, and I could never figure out what I was doing wrong or how it was caused. But sometimes, you would find a ghost and you would hit them with your flashlight and they would, whatever, get shocked. And so then the life points would appear, but then they would just disappear. Like the ghost would disappear. And I couldn't figure out, like, I assumed it was something where it's almost like I was messing up the encounter. Like I was hitting him with the flashlight, but I wasn't using my vacuum fast enough. And so I thought that's what it was. But other times I could just not get it to, like, I couldn't get him to vacuum up properly. I don't know. And I haven't had that issue with any of the other games. It was just this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some similar experiences to Jeff. Like definitely the inversion was throwing me off. I feel like in most games it's not a big deal, but just I think it's the combination of how this game you like roam normally side to side, up and down, but then like you're trying to control this other thing three-dimensionally.
Yeah.
And it felt like a huge like calculus like problem.
I had a lot of issues with so if I was in the middle of using my flashlight or using the vacuum and I somehow was like kind of turned around, I would use the stick and I would turn the wrong way. Like I would end up, like I don't know exactly how I would have solved it, but I noticed that sometimes whenever I was trying to go left to right, like I would be flipped around and so it would go the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Dallas.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, that's another good point. Is like, and then once you actually get a hold of the ghost, then you have to pull the trigger away from them, and so sometimes the camera could get a little awkward where you're like, I
Yeah.
don't really know if they're in front of me or behind me.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
you're trying to like just, do a 360 with it to be like, okay, where's it hitting to get like a little bit of stable ground.
It took me a while, but like
Oh.
I figured out that you could almost just move the stick just side to side, and sometimes that would like kind of make them
trigger something.
Yeah, not I don't want to say die faster, but get sucked up faster.
Mm.
But I had the issue like I would be pulling back on the stick, and like in my head, like I was like, yeah, I'm definitely doing this right, and then I would like it was almost a thing where if you got dragged for too long, you would end up starting to lose life.
Yeah.
And so there was a couple times where I was like pretty close to dying, and I would be like vacuuming something up, and I'd be in my head, I'm thinking that I'm pulling back like I should be, and then I would die, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
So,
did you die a lot in the game, either of y'all?
Oh yeah.
I died. I didn't die a whole lot until the final boss, but I did die like probably 4 or 5 times before the final boss. And it was always on something dumb like that. Like I would just be like I would have because like I would usually have like 30 life points, and then something would jump out and it would take a little bit, and I would start trying to suck them up, and then they would drag me, and then I would just die from being dragged away, basically.
Yep. So I played the 3DS version because I had never played the 3DS version before. So I had recently-ish played the actually original version. I think sometime before Luigi's Mansion 3 came out. Sometime before the Luigi's Mansion 3DS remake was there. So I think the remake does fix some of those things. Like you have more options for controls. You can have them inverted. They're not default to inverted. So it does a lot of that stuff really well. That being said, I think I just may not be particularly good at Luigi's Mansion because I had a lot of those same problems too, of like the depth perception just being slightly off, and like turning around and doing a lot of that stuff. And so it's like I don't know if I'm just not good at the game. I think I only died 3 times total in the whole game, and I actually can't even remember what the third time was. I think I only died twice. Which I think maybe in the 3DS version, maybe they give you more hearts or something throughout. Because I was, at the most part, at a decent health. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was some balance.
I was running around with like half hearts most of the time. Like there was because it was always kind of weird to try to refill your life bar in the game. So you could do stuff like walk around and start vacuuming up the vases, or not. You would kind of like just vacuum at the vases, and they would spin, and then a heart would come out. Or you could walk up to stuff and like press A and like hit it, and sometimes a heart would come out. But it wasn't very like giving with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there was a couple times where I was having to like run around the whole mansion because I was trying to go from like 12 to 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another gripe of mine, because I mean, like at the beginning I didn't really know how it worked, right? So I was running around. I was like, oh, if I get to 0 life, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's probably just going to put me outside the room or something like that. But then I quickly found out that no, it just takes you all the way back to where you last saved. And
that happened. That hurt. That sucked. Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
So after a couple of those, I definitely like paid a little bit more attention to. I was like, okay, how do I actually get my life back up? Because I mean, there's just parts where it felt like, you're inevitably going to get hit by something. It's 5 hearts, 10 hearts there. So yeah, I was like running around, sucking those vases and like doing the little dance around it, which it's all right. Like it's not like a huge complaint because it's such a small feat to have to do, to get back into the game. But at the same time, it just felt like I was playing like a mobile game where it's just like, oh, I got to do this, to do this. It wasn't like enemies randomly drop hearts or something like that. It was like, okay, just suck the vases, let's go.
Well, and some of the enemies would drop hearts, but it was very random.
Right.
Yeah. I think,
and it wasn't always the same vases that heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't always the same vases that would have hearts. Like you could sometimes they wouldn't have anything in them. But yeah, like Dallas was saying, it was a very minor complaint. Like, if anything, it maybe added 30 extra minutes of playtime of me running around trying to find the vases.
Yeah.
And the game, I mean, if I played the game for 8 hours, I feel like that would be a stretch. I probably played it for 6 to 7.
Yeah. It is super short, even with some of the forced backtracking that I think the game puts you on.
I didn't like that on. There's a couple points in the game where it's like,
yeah,
it has you on the third floor, and then it sends you to the basement. Then the basement sends you back up to the second floor. Then you get sent to the third floor, and then the map on the floors, at least on floor 2, is not connected. So if you need to go to a specific spot on floor 2, you can't access it unless you go to floor 1 or floor 3 first.
Yeah.
And I was just like, there's no door to connect this the second floor. And the basement had a spot where there was like dust bunnies, and every time you walked out and walked back in, you had to vacuum them up. I hated that. I did get a little mad at that, but I did find out that there was usually hearts inside of the dust bunny, so if I needed the hearts, I would go to that room.
Oh, that's interesting. On the 3DS, you could just walk on the ceiling and get around it. Was that not in the original game? I thought it was.
I think you could walk on the ceiling, but I could, because I ended up on the ceiling one time, but I couldn't figure out where the platform, where the button was to activate it. It just randomly happened one time, and it just wasn't obvious to me.
Okay.
And I know we kind of pooped on the game a lot there, but I think it's just easier to get the stuff that you disliked about it out first. But there was a lot of cool gameplay events that happened in Luigi's Mansion. For its time, this idea of not really attacking enemies, but more you're just taking their health by vacuuming them in. That was at least from my knowledge, that was a pretty unique way of doing combat in a video game. So it is pretty cool to have that. And also just the way that they combine the environment with that kind of play style, where you're just a dude with a vacuum in a haunted house. So what else are you gonna do outside of call for your brother and suck things up? And the way that you could grab onto tablecloths and
I like that.
curtains and stuff like that. That was a really, I feel like they were kind of pushing the envelope with that a little bit. So there were some cool little features in it.
Really, all the complaints are the same complaints you would have at almost any game in this generation. It's just generational. It just wasn't quite as polished. And who knows what we'll be complaining about in Luigi's Mansion 3 in, 10 years, whenever we're even older. God help us, and playing.
I wasn't in the game. That's the first complaint.
Yeah, there's no AI generated whatever.
Right.
In it. But
I did like the fast travel system that you could potentially use every once in a while.
Yeah.
I wish it had been a little bit more fleshed out, but the fact that it had one, and I don't really think that it tells you that it exists. You just kind of find it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think
there's one spot where you actively have to use it, if I recall.
There's one spot where
also in Area 3.
Okay. But the fast travel is basically, I guess we didn't even talk about, you get the Game Boy Horror, which is what you're coming to us live from.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is basically just a Game Boy. I guess it's just it's a Game Boy Color, right? Yes. And it's been modified with a viewfinder, so you can kind of use it as a camera.
Yeah.
And you can use it. It's the only complaint I would have on that one is whenever you scan, you can use it to scan like Neville, or you can use it to scan the twins or Nana, and it'll kind of give you a hint as to what their weakness is.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the hint wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple where I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea how to get this how to get this ghost. And and you would scan it and it would have just this real nondescript thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, But it was cool because you could use it to scan stuff and travel around. You could use it to scan the mirror, and the mirror would take you back to home base every time. So if you did need to save, you needed to save, you could scan, go and save, and then come back.
I am glad you brought up the Game Boy Horror, because definitely should have brought that up. Because one thing I really liked, well, for one, I think it's just super awesome whenever Nintendo products have other Nintendo products in it. I don't know why. It's just so cool. It's great. But it's on the 3DS version, it was awesome because whenever you would pull something up to scan, the bottom screen was just the bottom part of a Game Boy. So it just it looked super cool. It definitely got a little bit more use too on the 3DS with navigating as the map in the touchscreen. Which
it have a gyroscope for the Game Boy Horror?
Yes. Oh, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, And it also had it for fighting ghosts too. And honestly, that way works better than using thumbsticks.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm always a big fan of that stuff, and I always think it's super cool to see that. And also that sort of just points out, like, I don't think we're going to be at this point with gaming ever again where we're going to have dual screens, but man, are they so convenient. Like, dual screens are great. Like, the Wii U was amazing. I was one of the 12 people that had one. Like, the 3DS is great. The DS was great. Like, I like dual screen gaming, and I'm sad that we probably won't ever get it again. Unless, like, flip phones become a thing again. But even at that, who knows?
Let's go Samsung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. And yeah, I'm also a huge fan of the way that Nintendo, I mean, it's in multiple games, like the way that they handle just this like juxtaposition of all their like old stuff like coming in out of nowhere. Like I feel like whenever PlayStation or like, you know, well, not just PlayStation, but like some of these developers try to like do little callbacks to their games, it's usually something that's like so subtle that you just can like barely understand it, you know? But like with Nintendo, I feel like they make it very apparent, like this is like a Nintendo, like in Pokemon, it's like you literally start right with like the old generation console or the new generation console, like in your room, and you're like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So they always do a great job at that. So yeah, props to them for showing out for themselves, plugging themselves.
They know how to hit your nostalgia pretty well. And they show that, and they take my money a lot of the times they do it.
One thing I wanted to mention was, Jeff, you were talking about how like the hints were kind of abstract, and I also felt that way, and it makes me wonder. I never even thought about this until now, but it makes me wonder if that's like a transitional issue with like from the different languages coming through. Like, do they just not even worry about that? Or are they like, oh, I mean, it says this, so we're gonna try to translate as best as we can.
Like,
I wonder if that
they didn't have like,
I doubt it.
Like,
oh, you think there's probably some people in there that are like, no, it's got to be like, it has to be the perfect clue.
Yeah. No, I think it was probably vague on purpose. Like it was meant to be vague. It was meant to be kind of puzzle. Yeah, I don't think it was supposed to be like, oh, you know, wait for him to yawn or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely meant to be vague. Like, for instance, one of the characters who we'll come back to later, I think hers said she just like, she was a little kid, and she's like, I won't wet the bed, and like, that's all it says. Yeah. And so then I'm just like, oh, well, I need water. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think they were supposed to just guide you instead of being super explicit.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like some of those are good, but I think I feel like I remember reading some of them that were just so weird. They were like,
there were a few that were weird, and I was like,
man in the closet is here, and you're like, what? There's like not even a door in here. You're like, I'm obviously making something up, but
yeah,
you know, it's just so random.
Yeah. Did you beat the game without a guide? Did you just play it? Whenever you played it as a kid. Sorry, Trevor.
Oh. I think so. Because I mean,
did you have the internet?
No,
at that point?
I did not have the internet. There was no way for me to look stuff up because it came out in 2001, I think.
Yeah. So you
I
didn't
definitely
have AOL?
did not. Well, not in whatever room I was staying the night in playing video games, because I actually wasn't even at home. I was at my aunt's house, and I hooked it up and I played it all night. So I don't think I had a guide for it. I don't think they would have also given me a guide. So I think I beat it.
Just beat it
all on my own. I could be misremembering that, but I don't remember having a guide. I think it was one of those things where, like, you know, here's the GameCube, here's the game, Merry Christmas, and I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
And I think we've talked about this before, but I kind of have. I mean, I don't want to say it's like. I guess maybe it is laziness, but I have the tendency now where if I play a game and if I can't figure out what I'm doing within 10 minutes. It's like I'm looking it up. I have no. It's like one of the things. Like I need to. Like I don't have a whole lot of time to be playing games. I can't be sitting here trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Honestly, I think
that happened. Because that happened in this game. Because there was a couple times where I was like, I have no idea what I should be doing, and you know, and there's no like objective really. If you talk to somebody, they might tell you what your objective is, but if you didn't pay attention, you might completely miss the boat. Because that happened like a couple times, and I'd have to look it up, and it's like, oh yeah, you need to go into this room and fight this person. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also like a case of just like modern game syndrome, where they basically handhold you through the entire game nowadays, and they're like, "Oh, this is a riddle part," but there's like a literal arrow just going to like the next
If
person.
you
You're
wait
like,
long,
"Oh."
if you wait long enough, they're like, "Here's the answer."
Yeah,
like, okay.
you idiot.
They're like, have you tried have you tried this?
Yeah, have you
Right.
tried,
tried
doing
lighting
this? Yeah.
Yeah, have
But
you
man,
tried
like the
lighting
old,
tree on fire?
but bro, the
Yeah.
old school games. I mean, even dating back to like Nintendo was like the worst. Like back in the day, the NES and stuff. It's like you had no help. You were basically like you were born on the earth, and then you needed to like be the CEO of a company, and they were like, "Good luck."
Yeah.
It was just crazy.
I like that you mentioned that because actually, so Eiji Aonuma, the guy who is currently like the director of a lot of Legend of Zelda games, he didn't actually like the first Legend of Zelda game on the NES. It wasn't until a Link to the Past came out where he was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of know what to do," which I just think that's interesting because whenever I look at those, like, I just don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy those old games. Like, I get that they're in like NES era. Obviously, we like older games because that's kind of what we're here talking about. But like, I don't have the patience for them. I don't want to bomb every wall. I don't like.
Yeah.
It's just not fun to me. So props to those who could. But I mean, you're definitely right. They're like now Nintendo will just be like, yeah, dude, go do this. It's just like, okay, all right, fine. I guess I will. But I think a lot of those problems that you had, Jeff. So I started on Monday, and I basically played like an hour or so ish every night to beat it today, and I beat the final boss between like 5 and 5:30 today. So I was running a little short on the deadline. But I think the 3DS version sort of like made that easier because you always had a map on the bottom screen, and that map would sort of highlight what key you just got to open the door. So you always kind of knew where to go. So if you just went from key to room and seeing it all the time, I definitely think that's something that was resolved in the 3DS version in terms of like getting lost, because I never really didn't know what to do. I always could tell I haven't been in that room and now I can go in that room, because it is pretty linear, honestly. You go through one journey. There aren't multiple ways to beat this game.
Yeah. I think the only thing that happened to me, and it was like I would play the game for a night or whatever, and whenever I would stop, like I wouldn't exactly remember what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's how one of the times I got lost, like it was from that, was just from me walking into a room, or using the key to open the room and not actually searching the room, and then me quitting the game and then coming back. So like part of it was probably my fault. But it was just weird because like the one that I'm talking about, I think it was Nana's room. You're supposed, it's on like the second floor, I think. But I had gone and I was like doing stuff in the basement, and I kind of got to just like this impasse where I just like couldn't go any further. I was like, man, I've been in every room, and I would like look at the map and there was no keys or anything, because the GameCube did highlight what door the key would go to, and then, like I said, I finally just looked it up, and like there was some of the stuff that I had already done that was like, way down here, and it was like, okay, now you need to go into the twins room, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I go into there? And I looked at, and then it was like, oh, you get that key from Nana's room or something like that. And I was like, what? I was like, how did I miss this? So it was just kind of a, like I said, random things where I think it was probably just me quitting the game and coming back in.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That definitely happens really with any game. So let's kind of keep going through this. So after this, let's see, we run into our next ghost, which honestly, in my opinion, isn't super, doesn't really have much to talk about. So we run into Lydia next. Her gimmick was pretty simple. I believe you just open the window and then that's when you can attack her. Do you guys have anything of particular to talk about for her? Whoops, why did that one not do a transition? Whatever. Anyway, you guys have anything particular to talk about her?
I don't even remember that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I did, but it's a small thing. But it kind of got me solidified into the fact that like each of these, this was, I think, my pivotal moment of each of the, I don't know what you call these folks, like
ghosts.
I don't want to mislabel them.
They're
but,
called
like,
portrait
apparitions.
Ghosts. They're called portrait ghosts in the game.
Okay, well, all right. Sorry about the apparition speak there, but yes, so portrait ghosts. It kind of got me solidified into the fact that, like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of mechanic for these, and that's where I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty neat, because I'm not a huge fan of puzzle games, but when it's stuff like that has to do with combat, and you feel like you have the anticipation of you're gonna fight a little mini boss here, like that's what gets me into the zone of like, oh, I need to figure out the exact way to, to defeat this person.
Yeah.
And then of course that's where the, scanning them and all that comes into play. So it had this nice little recycled loop for me that I couldn't get away from. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't let you necessarily turn your brain off fully. You definitely kind of have to be like, okay, all right, well, it's going to be different from now on, which is nice, to an extent. Like sometimes it can be too much, and sometimes it can be just the right amount. And I think for the most part, Luigi's Mansion does that well. So that was Lydia. So that was Neville's wife, and then you have Chauncey. I don't know if you say that's Chauncey next. So this
Chauncey.
It's not Chauncey. Like, how do you pronounce that? Is it Chauncey?
I don't know. Is
Chauncey's
it with the
Chauncey?
Is it AU?
Yes, it is AU.
I'm sure it's Chauncey.
Okay. So Chauncey is the baby of Neville and Lydia. And whenever you fight Chauncey, you get taken to a special arena. So this is like your actual first boss of the game. So the portrait ghosts are just, like interesting enemies. And so this screenshot is actually from the 3DS, which is why there's a 3DS in the bottom left of the picture. But this guy takes you to his whole area, which honestly, I think like the fact that you fight a baby pretty soon, like it's kind of creepy to fight a baby. You know what I mean? Something about that is just like unsettling.
And it cried too, right? Like, didn't it cry as it in one of its attacks? Like,
I don't remember. I think there was an attack where it sort of like bounced around, and it probably cried during that.
That's what I was thinking. Of, like, because you would suck up the ball and you would throw the ball at him, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you had to suck up the specific one, like it was like the one that wasn't bouncing or something like that.
Yeah, because the other ones would disappear and this one would stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. But I liked this one. I liked this fight.
Yeah,
I don't remember there being a timer. Did it time you? And like you had 2 minutes.
That may be a picture from a 3DS mode. In the 3DS mode, you can go back and re-fight bosses.
Oh, okay. Maybe like almost like a time trial type thing. Okay.
Yeah, I remember this one because I was like, oh, so this is like what a boss is. Because at the beginning, I thought those mini bosses at the time, like Neville and his wife, were the bosses, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, this is kind of cool. Like I said, you find the little tiny mechanic and then you defeat them. But then once I got here, I was like, oh, so there are like big bosses.
Actual bosses.
Yeah.
And I was like, this feels a lot better because now there's levels, right? Like you have the little grunt enemies, then you have the mini bosses, now you have the big bosses. It's such a good like hierarchy that it made me more and more excited to continue the game. And I mean, for a first boss, like it was pretty cool. It had like 2 to 3 different mechanics that you had to figure out. It wasn't necessarily difficult, but it was difficult enough to like get you into the mood of like, this is what a boss could feel like. So
yeah, I like that it took you out of where you were at too. It put you in a new area. You weren't in your mansion anymore, so it's just like as you were getting used to it, you're like, oh, okay, well this can happen. So I guess I got to get used to that. And I also like, this is really the start of like any sort of like Luigi's Mansion is not a scary game, but it does have stuff that's a little creepy. And I think this is the start where you're like, oh, okay, so there is some, well, maybe not even creepy is the right word. Just
it's got jump scares.
Slightly unnerving. What were the jump scares? I don't remember any jump scares other than like enemies popping up.
Yeah, it's like enemies.
Oh, okay.
Like there was a couple of the enemies like you'd be walking down the hall and it'd be the enemy that would drop down from the ceiling and scare you.
Those guys suck.
Yeah, like I didn't like that. Well, I didn't like that. Those were good because they would always give you hearts.
They started to annoy me near the end whenever I was backtracking a lot, and I was like, just let me fucking walk through this hallway, please.
Yeah.
Like, stop making me stop every 5 seconds.
I would just run through them.
Yeah, I mean, I started doing that too, but they would still like they'd stop you. Like if they came down and they would scare.
Because don't
Luigi.
they actually scare him? Yeah, like he.
Yes.
I'm trying to think if because I played a little bit of Luigi's Mansion 3. Does this one have the thing where if he gets scared, he like trips over? Because I think Luigi's Mansion 3 that happens.
I don't
That
think
sounds
you do
even worse.
in the 3DS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
John,
any
that
kind of
might-
delay
maybe
that's like
spicy Casper.
yeah, something that's like unpreventable that just delays you for 5 to 10 seconds. It's like, do we really need this? Like, can I just not blow my vacuum or suck my vacuum in this direction and then have them like go in so I don't have to worry about this 5 to 10 second delay?
Yeah. Those little things really add up.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like after, the first couple times you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. But then after the 30th time, you're like, all right,
Like,
guys,
skip,
come on.
Next, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
Skip the cutscene.
Yeah. For sure.
He wasn't a bad boss though. Is
Oh, yeah.
pretty good.
No, I think he was a good first boss. I think he was a good introduction to what else you could get, and our spicy little Casper.
And he completes
Skylar
Area 1, right?
Yes, he completes Area 1. So
Okay.
once you beat Chauncey, you go back to the lab, and I don't even remember why you go back to the lab. I think that was just the way that the game sort of like filtered itself
It basically
out.
like you go back to the lab. You go back to the lab and you hook up your vacuum into the machine, and
you start to
Professor
turn them into
Egad starts turning them back into portraits.
Mhm.
Which I watched it the whole way through the first time, and then you can't skip it. But if you were playing on your 4K GameCube, you could fast forward it.
What?
Yeah. So I'd fast forward it because it was like that's a long cutscene to watch.
It is.
Him do it every time. It's like a minute and a half.
So I think this is actually a good point. One thing that I don't think we've talked about, and we definitely should have talked about now, is the music. But as we start to talk about the music of Luigi's Mansion, I want to point out the music in the ghostification, which I should be able to play a
Small tidbit.
a small little tidbit of it. Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Is that the right thing? This. Okay. So, this music is almost the exact same thing that is used in Animal Crossing for the museum. So that was Luigi's Mansion in the ghost purification room.
That's what I thought it was Backstreet's Back. On that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
also what that is?
At the
that like
okay.
build up.
Yeah. I was
Okay,
like,
I got you. The build up. That's fair. That's a good point. But like the melody of it. So this is Animal Crossing in the museum. It started in New Leaf. I don't think it was in the other games. Yeah, let me go to the start. But that's all I heard. I was like, that is like the same intro to it. And I just like, that's weird that that's also in Animal Crossing. Like the tones are a little different, but like the timing is the same, and it's the general sort of like muted noise of it. I was just like, that is weird, because that's all that is. But
is it the same composer?
I have no idea. Let's see. Let me look. The composers are listed on Animal Crossing. Let me see if they're listed on.
It was Nobuo Matsu from Final Fantasy VII and others.
I always
I thought that was
forget
actually who it was, and I thought you knew that.
No.
No, I don't know the
No.
composers here. I know Totaka was in it because Totaka's song is actually in the game, but it's not accessible.
Yeah. What? Yeah. It was like Koji Kondo. That's the guy that does Mario 64.
But I don't know the composer off the top of my head. But the music in Luigi's Mansion is probably the most hummable, whistleable music you will ever hear in your entire life. Like, I don't know about y'all, but every time Luigi was whistling the theme, I was doing
whistling
the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't not. It was just so...
I liked that.
It's so good.
And does he... I'm a fan of like jumping far ahead, but does like he hum that same song throughout the entire game? Like, is that the same song throughout the entire game?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah, he's pretty much humming the same song.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because it makes me wonder, like, how would a Mario game go about that? I mean, just like what I love about the Mario soundtracks is I feel like they have so many different feelings and emotions throughout their soundtrack that like I wonder if they would have implemented that into Luigi's Mansion, if it would have been any different, or like if it would have felt better, if it would have felt less better, just because it is such a catchy tune that like you kind of get that same sensation of just like, yeah, this is really creepy, like as I'm going through it. But like if they changed it up, I'm sure they'd have to come up with some other kind of crazy whimsical thing, and it might just break from the like the fun and the aesthetic and the whimsiness of what it was. So maybe they did a good job, because it is such a short game, you know, to kind of keep that in your head. That's like, this is Luigi's Mansion.
Well, I also think it just like is perfect, because although it is the same, you know, song, like it is different depending on Luigi's health, depending on the state of the room, depending on the, you know, like it's not the, like he'll hum, I think if there are ghosts still in the room, he'll whistle if all the ghosts are cleared.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't pick that up at all.
That's
it
awesome.
changes if like his health is healthy or non-healthy. So
I did catch that. He did the thing where he would get tired, like almost like Mario 64.
Yeah.
Like if his health was too low, like he would I think he would like put his hands on his knees and like start huffing almost.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I liked that. I like whenever, you know, you're injured and the game acknowledges that you're not at full health,
and not in a way that isn't just beep 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 beep.
Yeah. Oh, like a heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that coming from?
Yeah. I think this Luigi's gonna stay with us through the rest of the conversation. Our little whistle
Heck
boy.
yeah.
Nice.
I don't know where to put him.
Boy.
Yeah, I'll put him right here. Perfect. So he can. Oh, I gotta add the transition. There we go. But no, I mean, I like the music in this game is fantastic, and it just like Nintendo does a really good job of picking a theme and that theme staying for years. You know what I mean? And being good and being reused. Yeah. But I also, one of the things I wanted to point out, Dallas, is you were sort of mentioning about how like a theme sort of being the same and changing a little bit. I think Undertale does a really good job of that. I don't know if you've played Undertale, but they sort of remix the main theme as it goes on, and it just gets more epic and builds up. So I think there's actually a lot you can do if you stick to a main theme. It obviously just has to be a good one. But
yeah, I mean that's a great call. I mean, I played Undertale a little bit, not enough to remember the soundtrack, but who does a great job at that I do know about is Pixar, and the fact that they take this, like, usually it starts out the movie with like this happy-go-lucky song, and then what they do is they manipulate that to fit the emotion of the scene. So if it's a sad scene, they take that and they like either turn it into like a minor scale, or like just they drop it down a little bit to make you remember those good times, but also because you're watching a sad scene, you're like, oh, but the good times, and now it's all sad. So like definitely manipulate that to a certain emotion. So yeah, I maybe that's what they were going for with Luigi's Mansion, with like what you were saying. You know, there's different, like, I guess like paces of it. That I didn't even recognize that, honestly. I thought it was just the same song throughout the whole thing. I wasn't even paying attention, but that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job with all the music in this game. Like I said, I can't think of a more hummable or whistleable game that you would just want to, like, you know, it feels like you get to be a part of it when I think, which is kind of cool, because it's like Luigi whistles and I whistle, Luigi hums and I hum. I'm there with him. I'm in the room. I'm there. Yeah. Which I think
Luigi
is
dies and I die.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Luigi.
All right, so that concludes Area 1. So moving on to Area 2, you're pulled out and you turn all them ghosts into portraits, and then from there you start to run into new ghosts. So it's sort of, hang on, let me make these visible. Whoop. So this area has 6 ghosts, I believe, that you run into, and the first one that you run into are the dancers.
Yeah. Okay.
And these ones,
I like that one.
These ones were kind of fun because they definitely had their own. They had their own gimmick.
I don't even remember what their gimmick was, but I remember the room spinning. Like the room was on like 2 circles, and so you would. So that was kind of its own little gimmick. Like once you did start sucking them up, you had to kind of deal with being on the circle.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it's in Area 1 at all, but I feel like if it isn't, then it definitely happens in this fight. But like the poison mushrooms start showing up.
I thought the poison mushrooms were there all along, but
maybe.
But I don't remember. The poison
and they
mushrooms
might
are
have been. I just remember like in this one, like it was harder to avoid them because you were spinning on the platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. Which the poison mushrooms were kind of annoying because like it was already hard to get a ghost from 100 to 0 in one rung anyway, and then whenever you got it and then you got hit by a stupid poison mushroom, it was just the worst because it cut something short that was already hard to do. And then you're just like, well, okay, I guess I'll just hang out as a small Luigi.
And you can't you can't really do anything as the small Luigi.
You can pick up your coins.
Yeah.
And that was the exact same thought I had originally. Like in the first like half of the game, I was like, man, these freaking poison mushrooms suck. But then as I thought about it as like I was like trying to put my game designer lens on, and I guess it does. It's a really cool feature of the game because, you know, if they didn't have the poison mushrooms, that means that you could literally just sit out there and almost get them from like 100 to 0 as long as you didn't mess up the, you know, like the stroking of the angles and stuff. But I feel like that's just not enough. Like they needed to add on a little bit of more difficulties. And what was cool about the poisonous mushroom is that it was more of a like a gamble. You know, like you could gamble your life, but you might hit it. You know, but you can keep going and then.
I was gonna say you could sometimes like keep trying to suck them up and try to avoid the poison mushroom at the same time. Like it's definitely a little bit of a chance game.
Yeah, it's better than them just cutting it to where it's like, oh, then they just detach out of nowhere. Like at least it puts it in the player's hands to say, do I want to detach and not hit this mushroom, or do I want to just try and like avoid it and, you know, leave it up to chance. So that's kind of neat.
I don't have as much praise to say about them, mainly because I'm not good enough to feel like. I feel like every time I would get close to having one, I would hit like the mushroom and it would just piss me off more than anything. Because like if I was more consistently not breaking, I think if I was better at the game, which I will put it on me, that's fine. Like it's me. But like if I was better at the game, then sure. But I never felt like I was.
Oh, I didn't either. That's why I always broke out. But as soon as I saw the mushroom, I was like, nah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Not worth it. Yeah. So Act 2. So you go and you suck up these people who's I don't remember their name. The floating whirlindas. And then you go and you start. Hang on, let me get this stuff out of the way. I should have gotten a screenshot of it. I just need to get more screenshots. I thought I got enough images this time of everything I wanted, and I just like I did such a shit job. So
you got the proper GIF of Luigi there. That's really
but I wasn't prepared for that one. I'm doing the same thing. Because after you do the whirlindas, which I don't like saying that word, whirlindas.
Oh, whip
sound kind of like a.
Ooh, whip.
Sound like what?
Like a derogatory slang term or something.
I don't know. To me, it's just hard to say. That's why I don't like it. Like it's not in. It doesn't, like run off the tongue.
Gotcha.
So after this is whenever you actually go down to the basement, and then no, it's not in the basement. It's just in the room behind us. Luigi does a goof and releases all of the booze in the mansion. Which I cannot find a screenshot.
This was a fun mechanic.
Yeah, I liked it 70% of the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it wasn't. Well, I guess we can talk about it once you actually pull them up.
I'm trying to find an image of where Luigi actually like releases them all, but
I just sent you a screenshot there.
Oh, thank you. Nice. That will save me.
It's kind of a janky one.
Oh,
but,
it's better than me literally finding nothing.
We'll see about that. We'll let the chat decide.
Yeah.
Is this better than that?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick while you're finding that. I've been holding it.
Oh, okay. Actually, we've been talking for a bit. Let's take a break. Let's take a break.
Okay.
I don't have a break screen, so I'm throwing on the intro.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right.
新しいゲームの世界へ 任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険の形。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。新しいゲームの世界へ。任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. Luigi's Mansion. Only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. This game will scare you silly. Luigi's Mansion, only on Nintendo GameCube.
Vous avez une nuit pour sauver Mario d'un manoir hanté. Luigi's Mansion. N'ayez pas peur. Exclusif sur Nintendo GameCube. Vous avez une nuit pour sauver Mario d'un manoir hanté. N'ayez pas peur. Luigi's Mansion. Exclusif sur Nintendo GameCube.
Tienes una noche para salvar a Mario de lo supernatural. Luigi's Mansion.
Solo para Nintendo GameCube. Clasificado E para todos.
Nueva しいゲームの世界へ。任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険の形。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。新しいゲームの世界へ。任天堂ゲームキューブ。光と影が明暗を分けるかつてない冒険。任天堂ゲームキューブルイージマンション。ゲームキューブ。
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural. Luigi's Mansion. Only for Nintendo GameCube. Rated E for everyone.
You've got one night to save Mario from the supernatural.
And we're back. We're all feeling a little better, a little lighter.
We're back, pal.
We're here to we're here to let some booze out. That's what we're here to do. Yeah. So Luigi goes and basically presses a do not touch button. Like, do not press. I don't remember what the button says. You guys remember what the button says? I think there was like a sign on it or something because it was hidden.
No. Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Did you activate this by... Is this one of the things you activate by... like you walk into the room and then you scan something and then the whole room starts moving?
No, there was just
it
a
was like
button
behind
on
like
a wall.
a poster.
Yeah.
It like you suck the poster off, and then it's just a red button. And of course, in any game, you're gonna be like, oh, red button. Hit
In
that.
real life.
Oh yeah,
In any situation
Make
where
life real
you're gonna press the red button. So you press the red button, and then like 50 boos come flying out, which then sort of changes the rest of the game, which is already pretty soon because you didn't play much of the game anyway. But definitely sets up the other big mechanic of the game, which is not only are you catching ghosts, you're catching boos, and you can find your first boo even literally as soon as you walk out the door, because boos will only appear in a completed room and they hide underneath furniture or whatever is basically what they say.
Oh, it was only completed rooms that they appeared in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
so the
didn't
lights had to
realize
be
that.
on.
The lights had to be on.
The lights had to be on for you to find them the first time.
Yeah.
So that was kind of it. Dallas, you want to talk us through the mechanics of the boos?
Yes, I would. So the thing about the booze is that I didn't even realize it was a thing until maybe the second or third room that I entered. So there's a little light that blinks either yellow, red, or blue. That's right above your treasure counter that you can kind of see in that screenshot there at the bottom right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a new light that you adopt, and when you're in a lit room, if it is yellow, it'll start blinking, and you'll hear an audible siren
It's like
from it.
just a beep. Yeah.
Yeah, just a beep, and that just lets you know that there is something in this room. So what you have to do now is you have to walk around and kind of play this Marco Polo game. And once you find a rapidly beeping red light, that means that there is a boo next to you. And so you just kind of do a 360 with your vacuum and target certain areas. And once you do that and you find the correct spot, then that boo will be illuminated and it'll eventually jump out. And now it acts as any ordinary ghost, except you're not really sucking it in at the moment, but you're kind of just...
You're like draining it.
Yeah, like drain. Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, draining it until it gets to 0, just like the other ones, and then you can suck it in, and then it becomes one of your 50 that you need to pull together out of the mansion.
Yeah, and the sometimes fun, sometimes annoying part is ghosts can flee to different rooms. Boos can flee to different rooms,
and they can flee to rooms that you haven't been in yet.
Yes, or that you have no way of accessing at the moment.
Yeah, from there. Yep.
Yeah.
You never had one leave?
I guess I just never realized that. I mean, because the boost to me, at the moment I thought like, oh, these are just like a secondary objective. Like I don't really need to get these, so I didn't really care at the time. I didn't even realize that they were just going away.
How many did you get?
I think I got them all. Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, you got all 50? Oh, okay.
Pretty sure.
I got like 42 of them, but the other kind of
well, on
they all had unique.
They did have all unique names. So real quick, when I got 49, and I got 49 because I thought the 50th one was going to be King Boo. So I was like, oh well, obviously I'm done at 49 because that's so I didn't even look for the 50th one because I was like, he's the last Boo. I gotta get him.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, let's go into detail about their names because some of them definitely had some great names. Let me see if I can pull up a list.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I think one of them that I saw was like Bull Arena or something like that, or Boo Arena, maybe that's what it was called. It was a ballerina type boo, I guess is what it was. I mean, they all look the same, but they all will have like a little text prompt up or something like that. But the other kind of interesting or annoying thing, I guess, just depending on how you want to describe it, they all have different amounts of like life points.
Yeah.
So you had some that would be pretty straightforward, like you could get them in one go. They would have 50, or 80. But then there was a few of them that would have like 300 points, and those were a lot tougher to get. And so to Trevor's point, like they would flee from room to room, and there'd be times where there was one of them that would flee from a room into a hallway. I would chase it, and then would go back into that room almost immediately. Then it would flee to the hallway, and it just kept going back and forth. It was always the same room, and it was always the same hallway. And yeah, that one was super annoying. Yeah. And then, like Trevor said, there were some that would flee to different rooms, and I could just never find them. So like I said, only got 42.
They were a pain. But I mean, they were still, honestly, like, really the only pain ones were whenever they fled. And even at that, going from one room to another isn't that bad. It's just when it's like the 5th time, you're like, good Lord, can you just stop? Like, this isn't fun. This isn't challenging. I'm going to win. It's just a battle of endurance at that point. And I also like how, like, EGAD would always be like, at least on the 3DS version, I don't know what he said in the GameCube version because it's been a while, but he was just like, you did it. The ghost gave up. And I'm like, did it? Did it give up? I'm
really put up a fight there, EGAD.
Yeah,
I don't know if he would. I don't know if he would say that they gave up in that one and on the GameCube, but he would. One of the nice mechanics is you always got to save after you caught one.
Yeah,
and then
yes, that was a great.
I know at least at one point you captured like 5 or something like that, and then he takes you somewhere. Like every once in a while, he would teleport you after you caught so many, or he would tell you like a fun fact. And I can't remember what all of those were, but like you would scan one and he'd be like, "Did you know that booze blah 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 blah?" And he would tell you something.
Or yeah, I'd be like, "You're on fire, Luigi," or say something like you about. Like,
he's like, "This is a lot of booze. I can't believe you've already caught 35."
Yeah, he really didn't expect a lot from old Luigi.
Yeah, he's like, I thought you were gonna die in the first 5 minutes. To be honest,
You're still here.
Yeah,
I have a list of boo names. I'm gonna see if I can put into chat.
Okay.
nice.
There's some good ones in here, and there's some fine ones in here. I will say my favorite one, which I remembered before. The formatting is probably gonna be awful, so rip chat. Actually, oh yeah, I can't even. That's too many characters. I'll put them in Discord. Sorry, chat.
Join the Discord. You might be able to see it.
That's true. All right, hang on. I gotta find Discord.
Good chat. So my I don't even think it's in here, but like my favorite type of boo, it's a little off topic, is from the Dragon Ball Z series. And the little pink guys, you know, Super Boo and Kid Boo and Fat Boo.
Yeah, I didn't come across him in this game.
I didn't either. All
right, so I posted it in Discord in the general. My favorite boo was Luigi, especially because like I just love because I think the first thing he goes is he says, "I'm Luigi. Wait, I'm Luigi," and I thought it was just so funny, and it just reminded me of there's a scene in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where like. Some of the guys are basically trying to go and talk to girls at the bar, and Frank, the main character, the first thing he does, he walks up and he goes, "I'm Frack," and then he goes, "Fuck," and then he goes and he leaves. And it just reminds me of that, like, you know, whenever you're like at the grocery store and they're like, "What's your phone number?" and you're like,
"Yes."
Oh,
right.
What's my? And I just feel like that's what that boo had. He just had the just like, "I'm Luigi," and it's like, shit, that's not me.
Yep.
So that one got an audible laugh out of me, but I very much enjoyed it.
Some of these are great. Some of them are not good at all. Like there's one called Boolossus, like instead of Colossus.
Yeah.
But like I feel like those aren't even near each other. So I guess they just took any kind of C or like any kind of consonant U or consonant O.
Yeah.
And then put it together.
Yeah. I like the one that says Booby Hatch.
That's I think that we're gonna have to cut that out of the stream.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're offline for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah,
what happened?
Shadow banned.
Yeah.
I thought there was one that was called Boolarina or something like that, but it wasn't in the list.
There might have been.
I don't know what I was thinking of.
I just found this online. This list may not be.
Well,
were you also playing Luigi's 3? Luigi's Mansion 3? Could have been from that. Because there are boos in Luigi's Mansion 3, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I haven't gotten very far though, so.
All right, I found my 3 favorites. It's Shamboo. I don't know if that's supposed to be like Shambo or Shampoo.
I think it's Shampoo.
Yeah, and so Shamboo is one. The other is Boofant. Maybe
Boofant.
I don't know if that's like infant or something.
Yeah. Boofant.
And then the final one is Shower Body, which has like no boo reference at all.
I don't know if that one was right. I think that may have just been important. Hang on. I had, let me see. Oh, I closed the other tabs. I'm trying to like keep my tabs relatively minimal as I pull stuff up. I don't know. That one legitimately just said typo question mark next to it, and I deleted that part. So I don't know if that one was real.
I think we need to keep it in shower body.
Yeah, shower body. Is shower booty better? I think shower booty.
There we go. Shower booty.
That's probably what they wanted to go for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did like Game Boo Advance because, like I said, I'm a sucker for anything that pulls on any amount of nostalgia.
Shamu.
Instead
of shampoo.
Maybe.
That could be it, yeah. How popular was that?
Free Willy?
No, what's the place called? The actual
SeaWorld?
SeaWorld. How popular was SeaWorld in 2001? Probably pretty popular.
It's probably a little bit more popular than it is in 2023.
Yeah, I can't even remember the name of it.
Used to just be a fun thing you would do. Now it's an ethical quandary.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're like, yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to go here anymore.
This game's canceled.
Yeah, my mom said I can't hang out with you guys anymore.
Yeah. These guys are too wet.
Oh boy!
Whoa!
Get away from me.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you let all the booze out. You now have an additional thing to do. Sometimes fun, sometimes annoying. But making our way through our booze, I believe the next portrait ghost we come to is... Okay, I think you could technically do these ones in any order, so I'm going to show up at the same time. So you could come against Mr. Shivers or Melody Pianissima. Oh, actually, I think you could do technically any of these at the same time. So I'm going to throw them all up, and I'll list their names off. We can sort of discuss them as one go. Okay, there we go. So these are... I think you're pretty much... Yeah, you can do them all kind of like... Well, not in any order. I do think that they are required, because I think you have to get certain rooms for them. But you have... what's his name? Shivers,
yeah.
He was the guy who was kind of roaming the halls. I do like that he was in the hallway. It was kind of cool to see a ghost that didn't feel like it was confined to its room. You know, because obviously it's just confined to the hallway, but the hallway's so bigger, it feels like it's more just like roaming around.
And it's just walking around, yeah.
Yeah.
Was this the one that you had to use like your fire attack to like light his candle? So I mean, that was kind of cool, because is that the first time that you use fire, or one of the first times?
Maybe like appropriately.
Yeah, so you also have to use fire on Lugs, Mr. Lugs, the one in the bottom left, because you have to light the candles in order to start attacking him. Which, fun fact, he is actually an optional ghost. You don't have to capture Mr. Lugs. You can go
the guy that's eating. Okay.
You don't have to capture him, but I don't remember if you. So I actually captured him in Area 3 because he was being annoying. But I don't. Either of those two are the first two instances of actually using the fire.
Yeah, and that's what really got me. I think this was the first time I used the walkthrough, because I was like I'd seen the candles before, and I should have put two and two together. But I think up until this point, you weren't really required. Like, the game was pretty linear. It was like, okay, you unlock the key, go to this room, kill the ghost, it lights up, you get the key. And now this was the first time where the game was like, I'm not going to tell you that you need to do anything outside of that. And so because of that, you know, again, we talked about like how Nintendo, I mean, just a lot of older games have been like, oh, just, you know, go do whatever you want. So I'm sure, you know, as a child, I probably would have been like, oh, I'm going to explore every catacomb and like put everything on fire. But as an adult, I was like, I ain't got time for this. I'm like, where am I supposed to use this fire? And then eventually once it told me online, it was like, oh, just light the candles. I was like, I should have known that, because I'd seen the candles before. So that's where I got my first, you know, hit of realization. Yeah.
It's like, it sucks because
it's like obvious.
It is obvious.
So obvious.
But also whenever you're like, I only got an hour and a half to play this today. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
so I need to make as much progress as I can.
Right.
Like I can't spend I mean, that's what I said.
It's a 10-minute rule.
At the very beginning of the stream is like, yeah, like I'm the same way with like bosses in games where if I fight the boss, well, the only exception would be, I guess, like Dark Souls. Like I assume in those, like I'm just gonna die a bunch of times. But if I'm fighting a boss in a game and it takes like, more than 10 minutes, I'm just gonna look up how to do it. And so I think I might have done the same thing on Mr. Shivers as well. Like it was like you just need to light his candle, and then he follows you into a room, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if this was offline or online, but I was telling the group that like I try my best not to look at walkthroughs because I feel like it just kind of, for me, it like defeats the purpose of a game, because a game is like a challenge that you need to complete, and so it's a giant puzzle. Even if it's not a puzzle game, it's still a puzzle, and like I try my best to complete it, but for whatever reason, like with Luigi's Mansion, I was like, dude, it's like I'm like I'm not gonna sit here for like 3 hours trying to figure this out. Like that is just nonsense at this point.
I think
got
that's
me.
fair.
It bested me.
I think that's fair.
You broke us, Trevor.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull up.
Ghost got it. We're in the portrait now.
Okay. You should be back, right? Are you still back?
No, now I'm not back. Oh, we were for a second.
Son of a gun. Now.
I think it's a Discord thing, perhaps.
No, yeah, it is. I'm trying to draw something on an image.
Hey, we're just adding to the spookiness here.
Yeah, where'd we go?
Yeah, you stayed, Trevor, but we took the high road.
It's interesting because
hit that road.
Because like, oh, never mind. Actually, it's not interesting. It's not.
I'm at Jeff's
house.
Let's,
let's continue to talk about the game. That's the interesting stuff, not the technical problems I have. Okay, so Mr. Shudders, which gosh, you'd think I'd be able to hold his name
Shivers.
in my shivers for like more than 5 seconds. So he leads. So yeah, you light his candle, and then he takes you to his butler's room, and this is where you can actually fight him. But there was a secret in this room that you may have found, Dallas, if you used a walkthrough. But Jeff, if you didn't use a walkthrough, you may not have found it. But did you guys know that in this room, in the kind of where that's, I was trying to pull up MS Paint. That's why you guys disappeared for a second.
MS Paint.
But if you use the Game Boy Horror and you look around, you've noticed that there are mice that go into a hole. If you look at that hole and if you scan it with your Game Boy, that takes you to a secret room full with a bunch of treasure, which I'm trying to do like the treasure room.
That's cool.
So that was something that like I know I knew about, but I don't know how I knew. I don't know if I knew about it whenever I was like a kid playing it for the first time,
a youngster.
But whenever I was playing it again with Ariel, I definitely knew that was a thing for her to do. So I could have just like Googled it by that point. But the room looked like this. Like this. So it's full of a bunch of goodies there. So
like salivating looking at that.
Yeah.
All those treasure chests.
Yeah.
What? Oh god.
Oh yeah, I think
it's a Luigi special.
That's a good time to show. I know you wanted me to show this photo.
We have to, guys. I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay. I was gonna say because there's a couple points where you like if you can go behind the treasure chest and then you can hit him and he almost tries to pick him up, but it looks like he's humping it. Okay.
Yeah, there's no way as a 30-year-old or more that you look at this game and you're like, there's something nefarious happening here. It's like he's screaming, he's grunting, and he's just like
and he's just yelling Mario the whole time.
And
he's like thrusting.
I feel like that's not even like the worst picture you could have gotten because you can definitely do that on the treasure chest.
Oh yeah. There's one where he has his Italian sausage. Not one of those.
You played a ROM. Did you play a ROM?
Yeah, it was a nude ROM.
Oh,
we got the Supreme Pizza ROM.
Good lord, gosh. Okay. Yeah. So that was other than that, nice little bit of fun. Yeah. So there was that secret room, which you do basically find another room that is sort of similar to that one, but you have to go to that one in the game, but that's not until Area 3. So that was a nice little bit of sort of like stuff that you could just completely look past if you weren't aware.
Was there just treasure in here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it looks like you could have came back to this room because this screenshot in particular has like 50 out of 50 booze.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they have a lot more treasure than I do. So that's cool that you can actually go back and like look for some of these clues. You know, if you were a completionist and wanted to.
You can go back to that room at any point after you unlock it.
Nice.
Or after you unlock the butler's room, pretty much.
Right.
So then after that, the next portrait that I think is worth talking about is Melody Pianissima. I don't know how to say that either. I don't know how to words.
Pian.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Pianissimo.
Pianissima.
I messed it up. Either way, you get it. Her room was pretty great. Don't Google her though; it gets weird. I was trying to find her room.
Does it?
It gets weird pretty quickly, like it.
Like Rule 34 type stuff with her.
Weirder.
Oh wow.
There's one that's called a ghostly punishment, and it is something I'm not going to share with the class. But if you want to look it up, just Google Lady Pianissima. you can find what I see. Okay. Don't recommend, but you can. I'm trying to just find a picture of her room. Okay, so we're probably going to split this up into part 1 and part 2. When we do a part 2, I'm definitely going to have a picture of every room that I don't have to Google at the last second.
I'm just disappointed because I'm trying to Google all this and I can't find what you're seeing.
Maybe you're just so desensitized that you're seeing it and you're just like, yeah, no, that's normal.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, what do you mean? You're just on the internet, dude.
Yeah, just safe search off, brother.
Yeah.
This looks good to me.
Yeah.
That's my profile pic at work. So.
I'll see if I can find the worst one. Where did I just save that photo? Hang on. I tried to save a photo of the room, but oh, there it is. It's right in front of me. Okay. And so her room was a fun room because you basically had to turn on and play a bunch of different instruments.
Yep. I like this room.
Those played,
yeah, this is cool.
And ended up playing the theme from Super Mario Brothers 3. I don't remember what the song name was though. But it was a good song, and I'll share the photo. Maybe I'll share the photo. It has text. Okay, yeah, I'll show it. It's not great, but I'll do it for y'all.
Let's do it. Ooh. Yeah, this was a super cool room because when I originally got there, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, just like in the spirit of Luigi's Mansion, just hump all the instruments and. But like once started. Yeah, it's like once you start doing that, you realize
your heart.
Exactly. Yeah, and you realize that you can't just do it once. You have to do it multiple times to like the same instrument. So like you have to hit all the those tambas or whatever those are behind him.
Yeah.
You have to like get at each of those one time, and that's something that I didn't realize at the beginning because I would just do it once and I was like, oh yeah, I can kind of hear like the the drums going off and the xylophone.
Well, I like that it just kind of kept like
kept the beat between
just
all
like
of them.
kept like not increasing, but just adding that instrument like it
right.
You know,
it didn't stop and restart or anything.
Yeah. It was just basically picking up from where it left off, or just like it would just continue on.
Yeah, it was a nice treat for the room.
I thought that was a cool throwback.
Yeah,
more of that Nintendo charm that we talked about earlier. Nonstop.
So I will now share, and I will probably cut this out of any video if we pull it up.
Just blur it. Spoiler.
Yeah, I will blur it. That's actually more hilarious. But for people who are here and watching this live, this is one of the things I found when Googling.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
Immediately.
Sarah, I'll never prank you too again.
I don't. It's just so. I don't know what the middle one is. I think the middle one is Marceline from Adventure Time, and the left one is a ghost from Paper Mario.
Oh.
Okay. Nice.
So
who's the one on the right?
That's Lady Pianissima.
Oh,
okay. You don't recognize her?
Yeah.
You don't recognize her?
Yeah. Sorry, man, it's been a while. It's like 10 year reunion.
I'm gonna hide that one. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Well, anyway.
Golly.
Been a while, Lady PS Ma.
Woo, okay. I'm back. Back
Right.
to Luigi's Mansion. Not whatever dark corners of the internet I was on with that. So the only other two you have left, you have Mr. Lugs and you have Spooky. I thought Mr. Lugs was kind of a pain. His fire blasts were real big, and you were in such a small room that like you really couldn't avoid him super well. Did you guys figure out how to get rid of his, like how to show his heart relatively easily?
You like vacuum up his food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which just looked like fried rice in the 3DS version. What did it look like to yours?
All right, Trevor.
I thought it was like I thought it was just like regular food.
Okay.
Or maybe it's just like a clump of something. Like
Clump.
I could see fried rice. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what it
have
looked
been
like
fried
in the
rice.
3DS version. Yeah.
So I didn't really understand him. Again, this is where I run in the all powerful walkthrough. So I was like, I don't get it. But I guess you had to get his minions to stop giving him food. That was like the basic idea, right?
Yeah. Well, you would stop that, and then you would start vacuuming up his food.
And at that point, he'd be upset with you.
Super mad. Yeah.
And he would throw the fireballs at you, and then like, he would try to like as soon as you ended up letting him go, he'd just go back to eating. So you should do it again.
Yeah.
So is this like a commentary on like heartburn, or like where are the fireballs coming from?
Yeah,
That's what I want to know.
Ooh, good question.
I don't know.
Good question.
That hits too close to home for me. For sure.
Speaking of that, let's all take our heartburn medicine now.
Yeah, it's a Meprazole o'clock, baby. Gotta get
go.
them Omeppies. Yeah. So, Mr. Lugs, I mean, otherwise, like, besides the room being a little narrow, like, that was part of the challenge. But I think this is the first time I died, was Mr. Lugs.
Oh,
he killed me.
He got you?
And I was upset because I feel like I couldn't move around very well. But then after that, you go to your first puppers of the series, actually, which is sort of interesting because in Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3, a dog definitely plays more of a role. Not this dog, but in this, you fight Spooky. Which
you don't have the picture of the other guy, the Mr. Bones?
Oh no, he wasn't like a boss. I can pull up a picture of him.
But I mean, he's kind of integral to Spooky's gimmick.
Yeah, I would say.
Jeff has a strong attachment to Mr. Bones.
Yeah,
I know. I liked him.
Who doesn't? Not me, apparently, because I didn't have a picture of him.
You
I was
were
like,
ready.
anyone but him.
He just every time he shows up at Thanksgiving, we're like, oh, God, Mr. Bones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff, you want to explain Spooky's gimmick?
Yeah. So you walk out of the mansion and you kind of like walk into the backyard, I guess, and there is a dog in a doghouse, and he's kind of barking at you or whatever. And he tries to. I can't remember if he chases you as soon as you come out, but in the graveyard, there's like a graveyard or a garden right next to him, and this Mr. Bones guy comes out, and you kind of like, catch him or kill him or whatever, and he has a bone, and then the I was gonna call him Polter Pup. That's the is a Spooky, like he comes and grabs the bone, and then that's like the thing that lets you attack or start taking away his life is once he's like gnawing on that bone. But I liked it. It was like a combo of what do you call it? Like, I don't know, it was like combining two different characters to, take them out.
And then after that, there was the flower.
Yeah. Oh, and I completely forgot about the flower because I was actually gonna mention that there's a flower and you water it and it tells you that you can come back and water it some more, right?
Yes, it does.
And I never came back and watered it.
So I actually didn't know that was a thing until like I just happened when I was actually researching stuff for today. I didn't realize that you could ever water that. I don't know if I just didn't pay attention, or I mean, it could be a bunch of things. But yeah, so I found out that you could actually go and water it, and you had to water it 3 times. But if you do water it 3 times, you get the gold diamond that is worth like 20 million or something like that. It is I think the most the most profitable thing you can get in the game. But you have to water them once there. Then you have to water them before you fight the boo on the roof. I can't remember its name. And then you have to water it before the final boss, and it easily gets you 20 million buckaroos.
That probably would have upgraded my grade on this game.
Yeah, I got the highest grade I've ever gotten playing this run through, and it's probably all because of that.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine.
I am glad I read that while I was researching stuff to get ready for this, because I've probably played. This is probably my third time playing Luigi's Mansion, the first one. I really haven't played it that often, so I just I never knew about it. So I'm glad I got that freebie.
I did it the one time, and then I remember now that we're talking about it. I remember either reading or seeing that you could water it again, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to come back and do it. Never did.
Yeah, it's a very easy thing to forget.
I failed.
So after that, you have this area's boss, which is Bogmire, which is I will move.
Oh yeah.
Hang on. I'll show it in a second. I'm just trying to position it better. It's in a bad spot. Okay. Bogmire. I liked Bogmire. I thought he was pretty cool.
I thought that was a cool boss.
Yeah. Dallas, you want to walk us through kind of Bogmire's his overall gist while I try to find a screenshot of what he looks like, or of his room?
Man, I'm gonna try, but this is actually one of my most frustrating bosses.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So from what I can remember, it was that he would turn into the silhouette and shoot the silhouette across the screen, and if you got hit by that you would get hit. Otherwise, he would drop in, was it shadows or something, and then you would suck those up, and then you would have to hit him with it to turn him into this ball of shadows or something. And then at that point is when you could start to suck him up, and then we do the whole Luigi's Mansion thing. So for whatever reason, I think I might have died to him once or twice, and at that point I was like, okay, now I'm getting frustrated with this game. Because I was like, I guess it was my skill level against the whole you got to restart back where you saved your game, and that's where it became frustrating for me. And so it was a big point of contention, and I was just
I kind of think that I did die to him once because I think I had to fight Spooky again.
Yeah. So it was frustrating, but I was like, all right, let's get on with this.
I think the only thing I had an issue with was the mechanic where you suck up one of the shadows and then you shoot it at Bogmire. I would miss. I missed a couple. I would miss a couple times.
Oh,
and
man.
It was just something to do with the C stick. Just not I wasn't completely lined up straight or something like that, and so I would shoot it and it would just go right past it, and I was like, what the heck? And I was like, how did I miss? Did we talk that might be in a different room, it might be on floor 3, the room that you have to shoot at an object?
Oh no, we haven't gotten there.
Oh,
but,
okay. Is that in area 3?
That is in area 3.
So we can wait till we can wait until next time.
Yeah.
Because there's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see Bogmire being frustrating, especially with dying. Dying and then having to go back just is obnoxious, and that's just a thing that we all had to do back then. But I really liked. I liked his. He just was creepy. I mean,
I like the mechanic. I thought it was cool.
As creepy as Luigi's Mansion can get, that was this guy. And I think even in if you go to the mansion text, or his portrait text, it says something him being the embodiment of fear or something like that, which I just think is kind of cool. So overall, I like the way he looked. I kind of like that once again you're transported out, and that he comes from the cemetery, and he's just, I don't know, I like how different he is in comparison to the rest of the portrait ghosts. I think this was a cool, I don't know, I like his design a lot, and I think he actually comes back in other games I think he's in 3.
I can see that. That's cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought he looked cool.
I liked. I mean, I think like I said, I think I died once, but like I didn't. I thought it was a cool boss.
Yeah.
And I kind of think I got like to this part either on my first run through or the second time I played through. Like, we're talking about like how short the game is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it definitely felt like this might have been the point where as soon as I beat this part, I was like, how many areas are there? Like, is there only one more area left and I'm done with this game?
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah. This game is a short boy. So at this point, you're pretty much halfway through. Because there's not really Area 5. It just goes through Area 4, if I remember. Or Area 5 is just like the final boss. I can look that
right.
up.
Yeah. Well, it's Area 4, and then Area 5
Area
would
4.
be I think the boss is in Area 4.
Yeah. You know what I think would be kind of like hilarious? Because I've realized as we're kind of like walking through the game, in a weird way, we would be just like a really shitty walkthrough. Could you imagine this being someone's like first time playing? They're like, let me look up how to beat this game.
Check out this 9-hour walkthrough of how to beat this 5-hour game.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so after this fight, Bogmire takes us to the end of Area 2. Overall, I mean, at this point in replaying this game, I have not been annoyed, minus a little bit of Mr. Lugs. I definitely have some annoyance in the last half of the game, though, for sure. And I think for that, we'll save that for next time, and we'll go over areas 3 and 4. And I have a little tiny quiz prepared for us, and maybe by next week, I'll have something else fun for us to do as well. For the end of Luigi's Mansion. But yeah, other than that, any other final thoughts you guys want to throw in Area 2 or anything that we should have talked about but didn't?
I don't think so. I think we need to figure out a way to play the demo. That way we can see these pictures, like these Luigi caricatures in real life.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I think that's long gone. There are a lot of videos over it, though. Beta 64 has like an hour-long video over just all the different things that changed, and that's where I got kind of a lot of this information from. Oh, that reminds me one thing I wanted to say. Fun fact. So originally, when this game was being made, it wasn't until like near the end, you couldn't turn your flashlight off. It was actually Miyamoto who was just like, there was a button that literally did nothing. And he was like, what if the button turned the flashlight on and off? So for a large percent of the time, you couldn't turn your flashlight off, which I think is a pretty critical part of the game. Because with this, you can turn around and sneak up on ghosts. Like without being able to turn the flashlight off, the game is pretty different. But I thought that was interesting.
That is, yeah. Well, and that might have exacerbated the problem that I had, where like I would flash the ghost and then it would disappear because either I moved off of them or the flash. I don't know. Like that might having the flashlight constantly on. I feel like may exacerbate how difficult it would be to catch some of the ghosts. Maybe
like it would be harder with the flashlight on.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely think it would be, but it also it gives you.
I guess they probably would have changed
strategery.
Yeah, they would have changed probably the whole game, or like that. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. I don't want to guess.
Never know. Dallas, any final closing thoughts for Area 2 or anything that I missed?
Man, I gotta say, towards the end of Area 2 is where I was starting to draw my mental line. I was like, okay,
really?
I keep dying here. You guys were like, oh, it was so easy. And I was like, God. I just kept dying, kept getting reset back to save.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, just gotta power through this.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember from there. But no, I mean it's a great game. It's just like a recap of the whole thing. Like it's a fantastic game, and it's really just, I guess, like how much you want to put into it, depending on like where your level of expertise lies in video games. So like if you're someone that doesn't like to spend a lot of time in video games, and you're not that great at video games, like at this point, if you're like me, is somewhere where you're going to find yourself looking at the walkthrough a lot, needing to like save at every single save point, and it could become a little frustrating. But if you're someone that's good, like Trevor back when he was 12 years old, you'll probably just blow right through it.
Yeah. That's the solution. Just be 12.
Just be a young
go back
lad.
in time.
Yeah.
If you're older than 12, watch
Go back in
this.
time, get Luigi's Mansion on Christmas, and then make your dad angry the next day.
Yeah,
it's easy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. So, do you get more ups after Area 2, or does the frustration kind of peak, or does it kind of stay? I'm curious. Give us a teaser for Area 3 and 4 for you. What's your mood like?
Definitely a little more ups, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think primarily because I look at a lot more walkthroughs and get
you just play.
That's
You
fair.
just play with the walkthrough.
I just basically have like game and walkthrough right next to each other. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
just go in here.
That's fair. I enjoy complaining to an extent, so I'm all there for the negative parts. That being said, I do really like the game, but my pain points come in area 3 and area 4 for sure. So I'm excited to get into the spiciness of it.
Heck yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for, doing whatever you do. That's been our first discussion of Luigi's Mansion. We will have another one, I believe, sometime next week. We've been trying to figure out our schedules. A lot of big life changes during the summer, so a lot of things have been sort of moving around. But hopefully we should get back to a more consistent schedule soon. And looking forward to continuing this.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. See ya.
Bye, everybody.